In this video, I'd like to share with you exactly how I removed my limiting beliefs and made over $2,600 in one single day. By the way, that was in profit and also cash collected, meaning it's not gross numbers or whatever revenue. This is what I actually earned in my bank account in one single day. The number one thing I'd like to share with you is something that's called, or at least I call it, the survivor mindset. I grew up in the lower middle class. My parents were nurses, and so they weren't making that much money. I would often hear my parents arguing over the price of literally basic food items. And when you grow up in this kind of environment, when you live in a small town and all the people near you are literally just drug dealers, you start wondering, well, if that's just what life is supposed to be. If you're supposed to be okay with a mediocre average life, where all you do is just go to a job that treats you like shit, doesn't pay you much, then you pay taxes, then you come back to your house, and you have to take care of so many damn chores, it's not even funny, and that's it. That's life. One day you die and boom. You've never really done the things that you wanted. You've never really traveled if that's what you wanted. What I want you to understand is that really, the thing that's preventing you from making money, it's not your intelligence. It's not your age. It's not your gender. It's not even which country you were born in. Now, I'm not going to bullshit you and say that luck doesn't exist or luck doesn't matter. Your circumstances absolutely matter. Some people become successful faster than others, and sometimes both people worked equally hard. One just got luckier. So what? You can't go back in the past, fix your circumstances, choose wealthier parents or whatever. You just can't. So the best thing I ever did was to accept my circumstances. Because once I did, they wouldn't limit me anymore. And so while I grew up in this low middle class environment, I would see my parents struggle. Like every time over dinner, they would complain about the price of food, like bread, like lettuce, tomatoes. And it always shocked me how like a 50 cents difference from one store to another could literally ruin somebody's day. Like, that was the difference between my parents being happy and being miserable. But at the same time, I was going to middle school, and some of the kids there were actually pretty wealthy. Like, when I mean wealthy, their parents would pick them up in like the brand newest Porsche, and then I'd see in the summer they were going like on these expensive trips, etc. While I was just stuck in my tiny room, literally all summer, in my underwear because it was so warm, we didn't even have AC. And I know there's like bigger problems, believe me, I've dealt with far worse things, but my point is we never enjoyed life. My parents were overworked, exhausted, like, honestly, I was just sat there and thinking, what the fuck? Like, what's the point of this kind of life? But at the same time, I could see these wealthy kids at school, and it made me think, well, wait, some people can actually have a better life than us. Why? Like those kids, they didn't do anything that I didn't, they were just born in wealthier families, that's it. And they benefited from their parents' hard work. But my parents worked really hard too, chances are your parents worked really hard too, yet they can't even get their head above the water. They're drowning in bills and in fees. So seeing these wealthy rich kids at school, it made me realize something. If you had money, you would have a much easier life than if you didn't have money. Now, I know some people are gonna say, well, money won't fix all your problems. Money won't make you happy. Honestly, these people should shut the fuck up, because when you grew up without a lot of money, and again, it could have been far worse. I was lucky enough to be born in France, it's a wealthy country. I wasn't born in a third world country, starving every single day. So there's levels to poverty too. Honestly, most people think like, oh, being middle class is cool, but really when you see how much rich people actually make, and you're like, middle class? You're just poor. The middle class is literally poor. They're just less poor than the actual poor, which is homeless. There's different levels to poverty, but there's always been the rich and the poor. There's literally nothing in between. So then I did some digging, and I realized if I actually wanted to get rich, I would probably need to invest in things like the stock market, real estate, etc. And that seemed like a really good idea. And then I had the idea of typing how to get rich in the YouTube search bar. And then what I discovered really changed my life, because I actually discovered you could start an online business. You could make money from anywhere in the world, do whatever you want, like travel whenever you wanted, and that to me was crazy. I saw one guy in particular, he was making like $70,000 to $80,000 a month. And that blew my mind at the time. Now that was like over 10, 12 years ago, so not that many people were actually making videos on how to make money online back then. So that was pretty revolutionary. And so then I went on to try and start different online businesses, like I tried selling ebooks on Instagram, I tried the whole dropshipping craze, which by the way, if you watch my videos, you know how much I fucking hate dropshipping. It's like This so-called super great business model, which is sold to you as an easy way to get rich quick. It's really not. I've literally spoken with hundreds of people, hundreds of ambitious people like you and I, who wanted to escape the 9-to-5 rat race. So these people went on to do whatever it took to build profitable online businesses. I spoke to hundreds of them. Guess how many succeeded? None of these people succeeded. Now they came to me because they wanted me to help them because I finally cracked the code. But I've literally spoken with hundreds, and there's many more I haven't spoken to. Why? Well, it's because most of the business models you hear about online, they're fucking trash. But anyway, that's beside the point of this video. Because I grew up in this low middle class environment, the only thing I'd hear people talk about really was complaining about the government, complaining about taxes, complaining about the price of everything, even if it was just a 10-cent difference from one store to another. And I couldn't help but think, like, come on, if you're so worried about something that costs $2, or like it costs 10 cents more from one store to another, you need to make more fucking money. Like you should not have to worry about some apples costing 10 cents extra at one different store. It shouldn't make a fucking difference. My philosophy is this. You were born into this world, which statistically speaking is actually pretty crazy. I think the chances of being born a human are like 1 in something like trillions. I don't remember the exact number, but it is a fucking insane number. So you won against all odds. Yet in this life, you're going to settle for less than what you're worth. What's the point? You're going to settle for a job that you don't really like, a partner which doesn't really excite you, who doesn't really make you grow, because you think you can't do better, because you think you can't be better, because you let society crush your spirit. If you want to discover how I've made thousands of dollars a day online, I've made a free training that will show you everything step by step. The link will be in the description. And for a limited time, you can also apply to book a free call with me or a member of my team. On that call, we'll see what's blocking you from making more money, and we'll give you a custom step-by-step plan so you can start your business today, even with $0 in startup capital, and get your first customers as quickly as possible. The link is in the description, but be quick because we have very limited spots and they fill up fast. So me back then, I used to think everything had to be hard. Growing up broke put this scarcity mindset in me. I thought literally everything had to be a struggle and uphill battle all the time. So unconsciously, when I launched my businesses, even when I finally launched the right business models, I always had this voice in the back of my head telling me it was too good to be true, telling me I couldn't possibly make it. So the first limiting belief I really had to crush was this survivor mentality. As in, I always have to struggle, I always have to do more and more and more, and I'm always gonna get a little for my effort. But if you look around, like just go look on social media, and yes, social media isn't always accurate, sure, but you'll see very, very successful people, they only like post a few videos on YouTube, for example, they go fucking viral. You see these people like having a fucking awesome life, and some of them, I mean, I'm sorry to say it to you, they didn't work for it. Some of them had incredible luck with minimal effort. These people exist all around you. Now, I'm not saying you can't just rely on luck, because if you do, and you don't do anything to make yourself lucky, you're just shooting yourself in the foot, you will never get rich. Like, that's it. The number one reason people fail in business is because they give up far too easily. Again, I've spoken to hundreds of people at this point, so I've been able to clearly see trends, common patterns between people who do become successful. The other thing that kept me stuck for a very, very long time is thinking you can't get rich quick. The truth is you absolutely can get rich quick. It's just that in reality, in order to become this overnight success story, you actually have to work hard for months, even for years. You can absolutely become a millionaire in like 2 to 5 years of hard work. So again, is that a long time? Not necessarily. Some people might think becoming a millionaire in 5 years is way too long, but these are the people who will stay broke because they have no patience. You can get rich quick once you have the formula that works. Like for example, when you're doing paid advertising, once you crack the formula, once you've got a proven funnel, once you've got proven numbers, all it takes really on paper is to spend more money on ads, and then you can buy as many customers as you want. It really doesn't have to be complicated. Yes, you can get rich quick. I'm not saying it's gonna be easy or that most people will succeed. Most people will never succeed. I'm always going to be very, very honest about that. And it's not because they weren't born within the right families, or because they're not smart enough, or because they don't work hard enough. The number one thing is people give up way too quick. They expect things to work immediately, and when it doesn't, they just throw their hands in the air and they give up. That's it. The other thing that was preventing me from making more money was thinking, I can do everything alone. Now that was a huge mistake. I'll tell you a funny anecdote. I was selling an online program for like over a year. At the same time, I was selling services, which was my main business. And in a whole year, I made something like $1,100. So really, that was bad. Like, if that was your only source of income, you only made $1,100 in a single year, oh my god, you'd be in trouble. And I kept trying to do everything I could to fix it myself, because I thought I know better, because I thought I could do everything alone. I didn't need anyone else. I was full of ego. And then at some point I was so sick and tired of like not moving forward, even though I was working really hard every single day. I was making daily content to promote the program, etc. And I wasn't getting any customers, even though I knew I had great value to share with people. And then at some point I was browsing through LinkedIn and I stumbled upon someone whose profile really interested me. Somebody who could help me with client acquisition. And I went on their profile, I booked a call with them, and I just spoke with them for an hour, but then my business just blew up. I increased my income by like over 30,000%. That is absolutely insane. It's not a small increase. And I started making what I was making in a year, in a week, then in a month, then in a day. So that's how quickly you can scale things up when you know exactly what to do and when you've got the right people helping you along the way. The other day I saw a YouTube short and the guy was explaining, let's say you're making right now $50,000 a year with your job. Your goal is to make $1 million every single year. You are literally losing on $950,000 because of what you don't know. That's the ignorance tax you're paying every single day. Like, if you're an entrepreneur, you probably don't like paying taxes, let's be honest. You do, because otherwise you go to jail. Always pay your taxes unless you're a fucking idiot and you want to go to jail. But that being said, nobody likes paying taxes. Like, that's just fair enough. I've spoken to hundreds of people in literally every country in the world. Everybody wishes they were paying less taxes. But what people forget is that the biggest tax you'll ever pay is the ignorance tax. What don't you know? I mean, right now, if you work a job, you make $20,000 to $60,000 a year. What you don't know is costing you an extra $1 million per year. So you can just choose to try and figure everything out yourself, be like me a few years in the past, be full of ego, or just not want to take the risk, not be willing to bet on yourself. But then you're literally losing on $1 million every single year, or depending on your goals, at least $100,000 extra per year. Is it worth it? Like, seriously. So many people are afraid to invest in themselves. So many people are like, oh, courses are scams. Like, dude, I invested at some point over $2,000 in a course. I literally made my money 10,000 times back. Why? Because I used the information in that course and I did whatever the fuck it took to make it work. And I saw literally thousands of other people achieving the same results, even much better results, with the same information. And I've also seen way more people not do anything with this kind of information and not make any money and then go ahead and say it's a scam. How come? Like, as you can see, objectively speaking, it works, so it can't be a scam. But in my experience, I've been in plenty of programs, most people just won't do what it takes. The number one thing is they'll give up way too quickly. If you want to discover how I've made thousands of dollars a day online, I've made a free training that will show you everything step by step. The link will be in the description. And for a limited time, you can also apply to book a free call with me or a member of my team. On that call, we'll see what's blocking you from making more money, and we'll give you a custom step-by-step plan so you can start your business today, even with $0 in startup capital, and get your first customers as quickly as possible. The link is in the description, but be quick because we have very limited spots and they fill up fast. So to summarize it, the 3 limiting beliefs I had to break to make upwards of $2,600 in one single day was to first stop telling myself that everything has to be so difficult. I can attract abundance and it doesn't have to be super hard. Billionaires, even millionaires, they don't work 100,000 more hours than you do per month. It's just physically not possible. They just have better leverage. Stop telling yourself it's too good to be true. Stop telling yourself you have to grind and not get results. Because without realizing it, you're programming this thing in your brain, your reticular activating system, to keep feeding you more evidence that what you say or what you think is true. So if you think you can't be successful, if you think it's too difficult, if you think I'm the kind of person who just struggles and struggles and struggles like I used to think for myself, then you're never gonna make more money, plain and simple. In life, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you think you deserve. Really get this through your head. The next limiting belief I had to break in order to scale up to $2,600 in a single day is that you can get rich quick. Once you have the right formula, it might take you a while to get to that formula, but once you do, scaling becomes pretty easy. What's difficult is not going from $10,000 or $20,000 a month all the way to $200,000 a month, or even $2 million a month. The hardest part will be going from $0 to $10,000 a month with your business. Why? Because that's when you're going to need to grind. That's when you're going to need to post endless pieces of content And sometimes you're not gonna get views. Like, that's it. And the number one thing, people won't make it because they won't quit. Like, that's literally it. Everybody dreams of the Lambos, the private jets, the Ferraris, but nobody wants to actually fucking do the work. Again, I've seen it. I've spoken to hundreds of people who wanted to build profitable businesses, people who wanted to quit the 9-to-5 life, but these people didn't do what it took. Like, honestly, if you're the kind of person who's following these hustle culture pages on Instagram, like legends either wake up at 5 or go to sleep at 5 or work like a slave for a few years so you can live like a king for the rest of your life, these statements are true. Like, I'll be honest, you have no idea how many times I woke up at 5 fucking AM to do the work, to record the content, to run some ads. And the only reason I did it is because I have a strong enough reason to do it. But so many of these hustle culture fanatics, people who follow these kind of pages on Instagram, they like the idea of being successful. They like the idea of working hard, but they won't actually fucking do it. It's like these people with their fucking profile picture, it's like a Lamborghini. They're the same people who will never have a fucking Lamborghini because they love romanticizing having the outcome, but they don't want to put in the fucking work. The quicker you start, the quicker you'll get what you want. So start right fucking now. Once we've covered that, the third thing that was stopping me from making thousands of dollars per day in profit was thinking I could do it all alone. Honestly, no, you can't. If you want to risk your most precious asset, which is your time, you're okay with maybe never becoming successful ever, okay, go ahead, try to do everything alone. Everything I know about business, about content creation, about fitness, relationships, literally any aspect of life, I didn't just magically come up with it. Sure, sometimes I came up with my own theories, my own hypothesis, but not always. Sometimes I just went to somebody who was more successful in that area of life and I learned from them. Like pretty much all the time in reality, pretty much all the good ideas have been done before. Nothing is really original anymore. You just have to pick a lane and become good at it, and that's all it takes to get paid $100,000 a year, really. But most people won't have the patience to do it, and most importantly, they'll think courses are a scam. They'll think learning from mentors is a scam, and these people would rather go and like have some bullshit marketing degree from a university. They're gonna pay $100,000 for that degree, then they'll end up working a job which has nothing to do with marketing because they can't get a fucking job. Like honestly, at some point, go learn from the people who are more successful than you. It might cost you a few $1,000s, like yeah, let's be honest, but the cost of not knowing the things that you don't know is literally hundreds of thousands of dollars a year every single year that you're missing out on. So don't do it alone. It is very stupid. I'm always learning more. Whether it is by watching more successful people's content on social media platforms like YouTube, reading their books, joining mentorships, etc. I'm always learning. Because if you don't, you will stagnate. The more you learn, the more you earn. And I'll leave you on that quote. If you'd like me to personally help you to build a profitable online business, selling high-ticket consulting or services so you can reach financial freedom as quickly as possible, check out the link in the description below. I've made a free training for you, and you can apply to book a call with me or a member of my team, and we'll help you to implement everything step by step. Now be quick, we do have very limited spots. With that being said, I'll see you on the other side.